it's time for our weekly arts and culture segment. Joining me in the studio is our culture correspondent, Song Yoo-jin. Hi, Yoo-jin.
Pleasure to be here, Jung-min.
Pleasure to have you here. So what do you have for us this week?
Well, Jung-min, this week was a very meaningful one in terms of Korean history because on Tuesday, April 11th, it was the 104th anniversary of the establishment of the Korean Provisional Government. And just a day before that Monday, which was April 10th, the remains of the late independence activist Whang Kee-whan finally made their way back home. And for those who may not be familiar with who Whang is, he's known as the hit Korean TV series Mister-Sunshine is based on Hwang's story. And though Hwang spent more than half of his life overseas, he devoted himself to Korea's independence movement during the Japanese colonial period in the early 20th century. So for this week, I decided to find out more about who Whang Kee-whan was. A long-awaited return home. April 10th, 2023, independence activist Whang Kee-whan makes his way back to Korea. Exactly a century has passed since he died. It was in 2008 when a Korean pastor found Hwang's grave at a cemetery in New York. The journey back home was not easy because Hwang didn't have any family members to request his reinterment. But the cemetery finally gave the green light this January after more than decade-long efforts by the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs and the Korean Consulate General in New York. Then, who was Whang Kee-whan?
Hwang was a real trailblazer for Korea's independence movement in Europe. While there were other activists around, he really stood out for his diplomatic efforts in Paris and London to raise awareness.
The struggles he made for his home country can be seen at the National Memorial of the Korean Provisional Government. Marking the 104th anniversary of the establishment of the Korean Provisional Government, this exhibition in capital Seoul is showcasing 146 items of independence activists, including a letter, book, and photo of Whang Kee-whan. Hwang moved to the United States in 1904 when he was 18 and fought in the American military during World War I. After the war, he moved to Paris and worked for the Korean Provisional Government's delegation in Paris. He wrote books on Korea's fight for independence and how Japan illegitimately took away Korea's sovereignty. One of them is Our Business in Europe. Hwang also looked after overseas Koreans. He saved 35 Korean laborers in Russia who were on the verge of being deported to Japan and helped them settle down in France. This is the letter Hwang sent to them. Visitors can also take a look into the lives of other independence activists who fought for Korea's independence in China, the U.S., Cuba, and Mexico.
Life abroad was tough. Through this exhibition, we want to show that despite these harsh circumstances, these activists never gave up on their dreams of seeing their homeland free and independent.
The exhibition is open every day except Mondays until July 9th.
So much respect there, Yoo-jin. So I heard more items related to Mr. Hwang have been found.
Well, you're right, Jung-min. While the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs was trying to bring back the remains of Whang Kee-whan, they actually found 11 new documents related to him from the National Archives and Records Administration of the United States and also National Library of France. And they were just unveiled a week before Hwang's repatriation to Korea. And to mention some of them, they include a passenger list of those who arrived at the Honolulu port in Hawaii in 1904, which was the exact year when Hwang also arrived in Hawaii, and his military registration card during World War I. And these documents are very significant because they revealed for the very first time the exact year of Hwang's arrival in Hawaii and his date of birth. And there were also many French newspaper articles about Hwang, and one of them was written after his death in 1923 and evaluates him as a hero who devoted his all to liberating his small homeland.
And Yoo-jin, tell us, how significant is this repatriation?
Well, the Korean government has been really working to bring back the remains of overseas independence activists since 1946. That's a year after Korea's independence from Japan. And as of 2017, the remains of about 485 activists were still overseas. The remains of a little more than 140 people, including those of Whang Kee-whan, have been brought back to Korea. So from looking at these numbers, we can really see that there is still a quite long way to go. But experts in the general general public say this is something we must keep doing on and continue.
Certainly. All right, Song Yoo-jin, our culture correspondent, thank you.
Thank you.